Shalom and welcome back to Talking Torah. Well, Talking Torah, talking Passover again.
Talking
like
Haggadah.
Talking Haggadah, right? Talking Seder.
Talking Seder.
Yeah. We're talking, that's the point. Is we're here and we're going to be talking
to each other.
And to you at home.
We want you to remember this is a public service announcement that if you're intending to come to synagogue this Shabbat, the first day of Pesach, services begin at 9:30 a.m. 9:30 a.m. We give you that extra half hour because we're all drowsy and tired and overstuffed from eating and staying up and studying all night, the Haggadah. So 9:30. Same thing on Sunday.
Right. Okay, great. So I want, over this past week, you and I both had opportunities to teach to members of the community about Seders. Mine was about how to really engage and foster participation in a Seder. And you had your own topics that you were talking about to try to feed people some material that could help them in the Seder. So for the sake of those who weren't able to be at either of those sessions, we thought maybe we would just share a little bit about what each one of us
highlights,
about.
the highlight reel.
Exactly.
So why don't we go to the highlights?
Let's go to the videotape.
Would you like to start with your highlights?
Sure, I can start with my highlights. Yeah, sure. So my teaching was about how to really engage people, and we talked about how to engage young people for sure, like little kids, but we also talked about how to engage anyone, really, any adults. And what we talked about, I'd say the number one tip is to, if you're the one leading the Seder, that you should see yourself not as at the center of the Seder, but more as a facilitator for other people to feel like they're at the center of the Seder. Again, I actually really, in my class, referenced your piece in the bulletin again, where the kids should be the stars of the Seder, right? We said, don't have the children sitting at a kid's table. Don't annex them. And don't have whoever it is that might be disengaged from your Seder, don't have them at the end of the table just saying, okay, they'll be over there. Have people really who you're worried about engaging, have them be in the middle, in the center of the table, maybe even at the head of the table with the leader, so that they can feel like they're actually actively a part of it. And not just, we talk about that usually it's people ask questions of the Seder leader. It shouldn't be that. The questions should come from the Seder leader and the answers should come from the participants. It doesn't have to be what happened in this story. It should be, what do you think about this? How do you feel? What would you have done? You want to really be asking questions so that people, when they're talking, we kind of spoke pedagogically that whenever someone is participating, that's what's engaging. They don't have to be doing activities. You don't have to juggle for them. You don't have to do handstands. You don't have to be silly and crazy for people. You just have to, people like to talk. They like to be the ones who are actively participating. And so talk about being engaged. It's not just about what you are doing as a Seder leader, but about what you're helping other people to be doing. I'd say that's really at the center of it all. There were some very cute ideas. One was have people leave their cell phones at the door, right? And what I want to be very clear about is that shouldn't be seen as the idea that we came up with. Don't let that be a punitive thing of, you better not use your cell phone, right?
Yeah.
Because that's not engaging. Instead, it should be as part of the experience of, we're going to go in a time warp right now to 2,000 years ago, or even longer ago, to the first Exodus, if you want to say, where there were no cell phones. So included in that means the lack of all technology. So if you're able to use ideas like that to make it a full experience, instead of, sorry guys, for the next hour you can't use your cell phone, instead say, it's not part of this experience. So we had a lot of neat ideas coming out with that. So I'd say that's the highlight.
Good. So, when I met with my class last night, Wednesday night, I shared with them some of the thoughts I actually heard from a very, very wise and bright colleague whose lecture I attended. And he spoke. I always like to get new insights into the Haggadah. And he was talking about 3 segments of the Haggadah. The V'hishi Amda, and this is the promise that has been with us from our forefathers, our ancestors to us, right? That it didn't only happen once that someone rose up to destroy us, but it happens in every generation. Then there's another one. Bechol dor vador, chayav adam lerot et atzmo. In every generation, we must see ourselves as if we came out of Egypt. And then the third follows the meal and the blessing after the meal, the Birkat HaMazon, right before the resumption of the holiday, the Hallel, Shefoch Chamatcha, that we ask God to pour out His vengeance upon the evil nations. And what he said was that we should see these 3 segments as strategically placed statements of a Greek chorus. Mm-hmm. What's the role of a Greek chorus in a play? Well, the role of the Greek chorus is to say to the audience, listen, this is important now. You've been following the play. Now the Greek chorus interrupts and says, well, maybe you're bored, and maybe you don't think this is relevant, and maybe the Haggadah for some reason isn't speaking to you, but we're going to say something really important now, and this is at the heart and soul and the essence of the Seder experience, and pay attention. Pay attention to it. So what is it? What is it that we're told to pay attention to? We're told to pay attention to the phrase, the words that say, this is the promise that has sustained our ancestors and us. For it was not one enemy alone who rose up to destroy us. V'hishiamda, ela shebechol dor vador. That's the first one. That's the Greek chorus saying to us, people, if you think that what happened and what we're reading about in the Haggadah is just ancient history, boy, do you have it wrong. Because it's bechol dor vador, omdim aleinu l'chalotenu. Every generation, there is a tyrant that arises up to destroy us. And how timely it is this year to read this. It's the Greek chorus speaking to us. We are living through the most difficult and dangerous times that the Jewish people have seen in 70 years. We have Iran, perhaps on the cusp of being a nuclear state. We don't know how that's going to turn out, but most people don't have really high hopes at this point. Okay, we have the incredible revival of anti-Semitism in this world, in Europe, in America too, but especially in Europe, and that is very, very concerning to us. We have the spread of worldwide Islamic fascism, that makes it unsafe for a Jew in France to go into a supermarket. And the fact of the matter is, as we all know, Jewish institutions in America are now beginning to take unprecedented steps to safeguard Jewish institutions. So there could be no more timely statement for us as a Jewish people. We never thought that we would be 70 years after the Holocaust where we are today. But we are in a very, very concerning and troubling and frightening point of history. And then if you go a little bit further, the Bechol Dor Vador, which happens after, the show and tell, the matzah and the Pesach and the maror, in every generation one must see himself as having personally gone forth from Egypt. As it is written, and you shall tell your child on that day, this is what God did for me when I went forth out of Egypt. Not our ancestors alone who God redeemed, He redeemed us too. And what I said last night is this, and we've spoken about it. The root of Mitzrayim, the Hebrew root of Mitzrayim is Sar, mm-hmm. right? The narrow place, the narrows where we feel pressed in. We feel that there are more questions than there are answers, more uncertainty and doubts than there is security and certainty. the narrow places of life where we feel deeply, deeply oppressed and concerned and sometimes very beaten down by what life has dealt us. And everyone has those moments many times during life. And what is it saying? The Greek chorus is saying to us, yes, we can understand this on the level of our peoplehood, that God redeemed us from Egypt, and somehow we've got to believe that He's going to redeem us from these difficult times, but we're going to have to help. We're going to have to be a smart, strong, alert, active, mobilized Jewish community throughout the world to help really secure our future in Israel, in Europe, in America. So we have a lot to do, an awful lot to do. That's what the Greek chorus is saying here. But it's also saying that every one of us knows those places of tsar. We know those places where life is caving in on us. It could be of illness. It could be because of financial issues. It could be because of deep personal problems that one experiences in a family. And there's a whole litany. And what this is saying is, the Greek chorus is saying, every one of us has the potential to emerge from that. And I think the Greek chorus here is highlighting that whether you want to look at the world through your Jewish lenses, or whether you want to see the world through your heart and soul and spirit, there is a way forward. And it's saying, pay attention to this. Yeah, we know you're hungry, and we know you're getting the smells of the food you're going to eat in just a very few minutes, but hold on, focus in on this, be mindful of it, because it really is important. Yeah. And then, finally, it was Shafo Chamatcha, and, where we ask God to avenge the nations of the world who have hurt us over the centuries. My take of this is that, look, I don't pray for God's vengeance. I'm sure you don't as well. I don't believe in that kind of God. But what I do believe is that there's a God that wants us to be aware that where there is evil in the world, you have to contend against it. You have to encounter it, and you can't just bury your head in the sand. And maybe it is that there are times when, with the help of God, and with God looking to us, we are able to banish evil from the world. Because the consequence of not doing that has always been so very painful, not just to the Jewish people, us first and foremost, but then others as well. So Shafo Chamatcha is the Greek chorus saying, hey, look, where this world is going really, really wrong, and where you see evil, don't acquiesce. Don't just turn away from it. Don't say it's someone else's problem. It's your problem, because God put us on this earth to do all kinds of wonderful and kind and loving and good things, but also to make certain it was a place in which evil was not allowed to take root. And that's part of the, I guess we would say, it's the unending, it seems, the unending nature of the human responsibility until those days of the Messiah, which we announce, which Elijah's coming to the Seder is supposed to announce. Yeah. So those are the highlights. The highlights.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to sharing the Seder with you and your family tomorrow night here, and that should be really nice. And I know all of you out there in talking, not Talking Torah, but Talking Seder land, we hope that you have a very sweet and wonderful Seder experience with family and friends. And Aziz and Pesach, it's really such an extraordinary holiday. If there wasn't a Pesach, we should invent it. But we have it. We have it.
Thank God. Literally, thank God.
Exactly. Thank God.
Yeah. Good. Well, so thank you for all that, and thanks for watching. Until next time, we'll say Lehitrot and Shabbat Shalom and Chag Sameach.
Chag Kasher v'Sameach, and a very sweet Pesach to all. Shalom.